everyone, I thought I'd try to do something a little different this season. Now, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube and all over the internet on Instagram, mainly from a lot of guys out in the western part of America. And they're primarily filming their elk hunts, their deer hunts, things like that. And it's really interesting to me because they take you into how they prepare, how their preseason goes, and then they take you down into the nitty-gritty of each hunt and everything that goes into the great success or sometimes the lack of success in their big game hunting adventures. Well, I noticed that there's really no one in New Jersey, or that I've found, at least on the East Coast, that does this for waterfowl hunting. I really enjoy the documentary series that Tony Vandemore and the guys at Habitat Flats in Missouri are putting together, but I don't have that kind of production value, nor do I have that kind of private wetland and waterfowling mecca available to me. I am a public land waterfowler here in one of the most densely populated states in the country. All right? So this may go very badly, but what I'm going to try to do is take you, the viewer, into how I prepare and how I do my duck hunting here in New Jersey for the season. So here we are. I'm in my garage. I live in the Barnegat Bay region of New Jersey, and I'm getting everything together for our opening day. So New Jersey has 3 zones: north, south, and coastal. And they open in order. North zone opens first, then south zone, then the coastal zone. This allows us, if you're willing to travel as a New Jersey duck hunter, to be able to hunt from early October until the end of January. That's for ducks. Now, I love to hunt puddle ducks: mallards, black ducks, teal, widgeon, gadwalls, the occasional pintail if I'm lucky enough. So I really need to travel and hunt all different parts of the state if I'm going to be successful. I can't just sit down on the ICW in the bay somewhere and shoot buffleheads all season. I could do it, but it just doesn't interest me. So I'm going to try to take you in, show you a little bit of behind the scenes and a little bit of what I do for my duck season this year. So here I am, I'm in my garage. This is my duck boat. It is a 12-foot Roy Schellinger high box. It's all fiberglass. If you watch my video, that's very popular apparently, on my channel here, you'll see all about the boat and learn about it and everything else. And no, I cannot find you one for sale. They don't make them anymore, so don't ask. So anyway, I'm here, I have everything ready to go, and I'm just basically preparing it for the start of duck season. So as you can see here, it's still pretty brown, it's pretty dark, and what I'll do is, depending on where I'm going to go hunt for opening day, I'll go and cut some natural grass. This is Spartina grass, a type of Spartina, that is still pretty green early on in the season here. And what I'll be able to do is put it into the bungee cords on the boat, and it'll really help green the boat up. So that's going to help me hide for my opening day hunt. You don't want to show up out in the marsh and be sticking out like a sore thumb. The early season ducks are kind of dumb, but they're not that dumb. So let's take a look here inside of the boat. I have the flapper boards down. It allows me easy access into the cockpit of the boat here. As you can see, I have a lot of my safety gear, which is my life jacket, my Momarsh seat, my seats that I'm going to use while I'm hunting, all put up in the bow and out of the way. I like to have a nice, clear cockpit, so if I need to put my decoys in there and everything else, it's nice and organized. Something else I like to have, which you can see here, are my marsh stakes. These are basically poles. I have them on the starboard side of the boat. That's because I sit facing this side. So my feet are going to be down there. So I like to keep that open so I don't have to worry about breaking anything or messing anything up with my boots. I keep my poles over there because I'm often using them to anchor myself in the marsh. I have shorter poles for obviously shorter and shallower water, and then I have longer cedar poles for if I might be needing a little bit taller pole to anchor myself. So one of the first things you want to do when you're making sure everything's ready for opening day is making sure everything works. When it comes to the boat here, I have interior lights that you can see are now working, which helps me a lot when you're set up in the dark or you're at a dark boat ramp. You can see everything you have inside the boat. You can see here I have a brand new handheld spotlight. My spotlight from last season kind of gave up the ghost, so I needed a new one. I just got that. Again, really a key thing to have. I have the rest of what I would call safety gear, a paddle, my push pole, some ropes, extension handle. I keep everything on the side of the boat that I'm not going to have my feet getting all muddied up in. And another aspect of what you need to make sure works is all your other lights. So my running lights work, and then I'm running a light bar on the bow of this, which, yep, the light bar definitely works. You can't discount your maintenance on your outboard motor. Now, I previously put new spark plugs in this. I changed all my fuel filters, and I did a lower unit change on this. I changed my impeller and made sure everything was running tip-top before you get out there in the dark. You don't want to find out at 3 in the morning or at 4 in the morning while you're waiting in line at a boat ramp or people are waiting for you that your motor isn't running right. So make sure to check everything out and make sure everything is operating properly before you get out there in the marsh. The next thing I'm going to have to do is determine what decoys I'm bringing with me for opening day. I keep a lot of my decoys nicely cleaned after the season is over up in their storage bags here in my garage. I have plenty more up at my parents' house as well, but primarily down here I'm keeping all of my puddle duck species, mallards, black ducks, gadwalls, etc. So let's go through and figure out what decoys I should bring with me for opening day. So I brought a bag of my decoys down. I like to keep my decoys in these canvas bags. They're made by a woman named Diane here in Tuckerton, New Jersey. Diane's decoy bags. She sells them on eBay and also on her website, so a little shout out there. I like these 8-slot bags. They fit nicely in the Roy boat. I can fit 2 of them sideways in the cockpit here, in between if I had someone else gunning with me and myself running the boat. That way I can bring 16 decoys very easily. When it comes down to figure out what kind of decoy spread you're going to use, you really need to try to figure out what's your target species. So this first bag I pulled down here, if you can tell, they are gadwalls. So I have some custom cork gadwall decoys in here that were made by a friend of my father's, and these are real nice. So I try to put these in the rotation. As you can see, they're getting a little beat up here and there. So in an effort to try to start to retire these, I picked up some of these Avian X last season. So, you know, New Jersey, the waterfowling heritage is very long and storied. So for anyone kind of knocking me for hunting over plastic decoys, it's going to be 2020 in a matter of months, so it kind of is what it is. I try to use the traditional corks and cedars when I can, but sometimes the price can't be beat on the plastics. So here's my theory on decoys. Everyone has a different idea of their spread and how many decoys should I bring, how many different species should I bring, etc., etc. Motion decoys, mojos, you know, shaker decoys, it's whatever. I try to cater my decoy spread to be the most realistic spread that's out there. So here in New Jersey, in a lot of the areas we're hunting, we're not seeing flocks of 50, 100, those kinds of giant migrating flocks of ducks that you might see in all these great videos from Arkansas or Missouri or the West Coast or Louisiana. We don't really have that here. So we're hunting very wary black ducks, local mallards, early in the season like this, you know, get, you know, a decent amount of teal around, hopefully, maybe a couple pintails and some shovelers. And these birds are singles, they're pairs. You know, if I go through, so for example, last season, the largest group of birds I had decoy was a flock of about 35 to 40 shovelers. And that was just a very special case. They all, you know, just happened to be in the area and I decoyed a very large flock of birds. but we just don't see the large flocks here. Traditionally you're seeing small, groups of pairs of birds, small groups of birds. So I try to keep my decoy spread as realistic as possible. So the most decoys I'm really going to bring on a puddle duck hunt is 16. What I want to do when it comes time to figuring out what decoys to bring is, what ducks are frequenting that area and what can I do to make it look as realistic as possible? Now, some of the areas I hunt, I shoot a lot of gadwalls, so hence I'm bringing the gadwall decoys with me. So just to get into a little bit more of the minutia of this, a lot of people ask me, what kind of anchors do you use? So I hunt areas that vary from a couple inches deep to 30 feet. So all my decoy lines have about 30 feet maximum of line on them. And I like to use nothing super thick, but not too thin that if it gets tangled up, you can't unravel it, because you will eventually get tangles. So I'll run a fishing style snap swivel to my main anchor line. I'm using heavy, large anchors. This is a big thing. You don't see this in many parts of the country. Everyone's using Texas rigs or they're using strap weights. That's great if you're hunting a flooded rice field, if you're hunting a bog somewhere. Plenty of guys use them to hunt potholes here. You're not dealing with the tide, you're not dealing with the wind, you're not dealing with the current. I'm hunting areas that have crazy current a lot of times, and I don't need to be chasing decoys all over the place. So big heavy weights, single rigged to my decoys. I put a loop of decoy line to the bottom of them, I connect my snap, and I'm good to go. Here's something else I've started using in recent years. These are silhouettes made by the decoy carver Alan Eastman from Maryland. I got a couple of these silhouettes at the Tuckerton Decoy Show last year, and I mainly got gadwalls because I see a lot of gadwalls. So if I'm hunting a mud flat somewhere or the tide goes out, I can put these silhouettes into the ground and they work awesome. I had gadwalls, I had mallards, I had a really nice widgeon I got last season, all keyed in on these silhouettes. And even when the tide would go completely out and you'd be hunting a mud flat and your decoys would be sitting like this sideways on the mud flat, those birds would lock in on these silhouettes and it was all over. So anyway, I'm going to keep getting all my gear together here. I need to pull down some more decoys. So check in on my next episode when I go over what decoy spread I picked for opening day, how everything worked out, and if I was successful or not. Hopefully there's some birds around. The weather's been pretty warm. I don't know, but you know what that might mean? Blue wings.